Hey everybody, it's Chef Julie from McKendree, Wednesday Night Suppers, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm really missing you, and I hope you're missing me too, and our food. So I'm going to bring you some of McKendree's favorite Wednesday night dinners, and tonight we are going to do meatloaf, the McKendree church meatloaf. Now I call this the church meatloaf because I have made this for churches Wednesday night dinners probably 20 years. It's never failed me. Just like my husband of 36 years, who's also my sous chef and cameraman, so shout out to him.
Hey y'all.
So what I want to tell you about is the stars of this dish. And the first one, of course, is going to be the ground beef. Now you can do a 90-10 or you can do an 80-20, which means it has 10% fat or 20% fat. This one happens to be an 80-20 beef with 20% fat. Honestly, it's got a little more flavor the more fat you have. Maybe not as good for you, but we don't always worry about things right now about that. The things that are going to go in this meat are Lipton onion soup mix, saltine crackers that have been crushed. You can do it in the food processor, or you can just put it in a bag and pound it. Water, ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, and an egg. It's a really simple recipe. You probably have things in your pantry. You can throw it together. That's one of the beauties of this dish. It's 1.5 pounds of meat. It's going to bake in a loaf pan, which we want to well spray. We don't want it to stick when it comes out the oven, so I'll spray that. If you don't have a loaf pan, you can also make it in a muffin pan. Muffin tin with an ice cream scoop, just put it in there. You've got little mini meatloaves in and they can be frozen. This meatloaf is great to be frozen. It slices well, it freezes well. So you might want to double up when you make it. Just double this recipe and you'll be fine. One tonight, one for the freezer. Okay, so let's just get started with this. We've got our meat here, 1.5 pounds of ground meat. We're going to add in the onion soup mix. We're going to add in 20 crushed saltine crackers, which is about, in fact, it's exactly 1/2 sleeve. The other things we're going to add in are 1/4 cup of water. That's going to add a little moisture to those crackers. 1/4 cup of ketchup, which I know if you got kids, you got that around the pantry. And then we're going to do a splash of Worcestershire, whatever amount you want. I like a little more. Adds a little tang to it, but probably at least 1/2 to 1 teaspoon. And then you have 1 egg. Let's see if I can break this without a shell. Okay, there we go. Now all you do now is you put those gloves on. Of course, in food service, we've been following all the rules like that they tell you to do now. We've sanitized, we have our gloves on, we've washed our hands before we did that, and now we're just going to go in with this and mix it by hand. Mixing by hand is the best way to do this. If you have kids that you trust, let them do it. So we do this. Your oven is going to be preheated at 350 degrees. This meatloaf will cook about 1 hour. So let's get that mixed a little better. I'm not the neatest cook, and I'll admit that. So, no judgment on this. Okay, so I've got this meatloaf mixed well. I'm going to start patting it into this pre-sprayed loaf pan. This is a disposable loaf pan. It's because I don't like to do dishes, so that's why I have that. At McKendree, we will bake, probably 12 to 13, 14 of these. So this is 1.5 pounds. We'll do about 20 pounds of meat when we do your Wednesday night dinner. And honestly, I many times will bake the meatloaf the day ahead, let it cool in the refrigerator, and slice it using an electric knife because it slices great. So that's what we've got there. It's a nice looking little meatloaf. Like I said, if you get these things and put them in your pantry, you'll be set. Okay, that's going to go in the oven for 1 hour. And it should look like this. Now, I baked this on a cookie sheet with some aluminum foil. It'll splatter a little bit, and as I previously said, I don't like to do dishes, so I want to protect myself as much as I can. So I put a little aluminum foil on a cookie sheet, and you'll be good to go. Now, if you like a topping on yours, and I'm going to switch gloves right now, I want to show you a good topping. When it bakes for 15 minutes, pull this out of the oven, and then you want to add a topping on there if you like something that's a little sweet. Now you can go with straight ketchup if you want to, and a lot of people do, and they like that. I want to zing it up just a little bit, so I'm going to put these gloves on. All right, what we've got is a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. It doesn't matter if it's light or dark brown sugar, just whatever you have. A 1/2 cup of ketchup. Add that in. We're going to add in a tablespoon of vinegar. This happens to be some apple cider. You can do white vinegar or whatever you like, whatever you have around the house. And then for a little zip, I'm going to add in about a 1/2 teaspoon of dry mustard. You can use prepared mustard or Dijon mustard if that's all you have, it's fine. Or you can leave it out. And then we're going to just mix that up. So you got a nice little ketchup glaze on there with some sweetness. So like I said, this is going to bake for 50 minutes. Take it out of the oven. You might want to drain some of the fat off of it at that point, because if it's an 80-20 meat, it's going to have a little fat that's going to develop around the sides. So drain that off, put this directly on the meatloaf, and pop it back in for about 10 minutes. So at 1 hour, this meatloaf should be done. If you want to double check it, you can take internal temperature at 160 degrees and let it rest for 10 to 15 minutes, and then slice it and go to town. Okay, it's been an hour. The meatloaf has been in for an hour. 10 minutes ago I put the glaze on, the ketchup glaze, and let's see what it looks like. This looks pretty good. By the way, I'm also cooking 4 or 5 other meatloaves to make meals for the Home of Hope Children's Shelter. So they're going to have meatloaf. And this is what it ends up looking like after the 10 minutes of glaze. That looks pretty good. This meatloaf will need to rest 10 or 15 minutes before you take it out the pan and slice it. And you want to take it out the pan with a couple of spatulas, one or a couple. I've got something like this, 2 of those, or a big long one will help you get it out the pan. Sit there, slice it up. If for some reason you decided to bake your meatloaf in the muffin tin, you only need about 15 minutes for those things to cook. So it's a lot quicker if you're short on time, or you got little mouths to feed that only need a small amount. But we're going to serve this, because I'm probably going to eat part of this tonight. We're going to serve this probably with something yummy like mashed potatoes with plenty of butter and half, or mac and cheese, or cheesy potato casserole, which is another McKendree favorite. So I hope you enjoy. Stay safe out there, and God's peace to you.